just under a K to see if anyone's going to do this.
Yeah, this is a really interesting move. If we look over to what's happening at the women, it has regrouped a fair bit, and the pace, it's not off, but it's still very blobby. We used to say that a lot, blobby or a straight line to kind of indicate where the pace was at. And so that's a bit of an indicator as they're going slightly downhill that it's all fairly controlled. The men's is quite a different story. And as the little gaps start to open up, it's absolutely not insignificant at this point in the race. So it's just over 30 kilometres in total. We're not even near halfway. We're not even a third of the way through. We're literally like a quarter of the way through, Anna, and already we're seeing a front bunch forming of 7. And the pack behind starting to come a little bit closer, but having to put in a really solid effort to do so.
Yeah,
and they're talking change bikes. Are they suggesting it?
Oh, well, Sam Lindsay's gone off the front at 5.2. He's trying to make a bit of a split. I mean, someone's got to make it interesting, right? You may as well. Apparently, as Sai and I were chatting, it was better to sort of have a teammate who does it as well as Sam Lindsay drops off the back there. That group behind us catching fast too. You can see them in the background. So it's better to have a teammate who could do this with you, and then you can join up together. Looking at these packs and the men and the women have passed the 8.8k mark. I have seen no bike swaps. They are all still there. No one has ground to a halt. There are some riders going pretty quick off the... Actually, no, we've got a bike swap. I lied. We've got bike swaps. Stopped. This is it. Who have we got on screen? Mel, look.
This is quite a number of them.
Absolute gold. Perfect timing. 8.8k. They've stopped. Teammates have done it. All the AHDRL teammates have done it. This is poetry in motion. This is what I wanted to see. They are absolutely now in the running for that 5k Hero Award because that was phenomenal. Perfect execution.
Well, so let's talk through. I love how excited you are, Anna, by the way. I think that's just part of what I love working with you is just how into it you get. Tell us about just the numbers, the data, the advantage of the bike swap and why it is so compelling. Because on the other side of it is the nerves about the amount of time it takes and the energy it takes to get back on. So tell us about just the raw data numbers and why you would do it.
Okay, if you can gain about a minute on a gravel bike on this part of the course, and it's not a short part of the course, it goes downhill, and you'll gain a bit of time on the down and you'll gain a lot of time on the up. I am thinking that these riders could, I don't think any of those riders did a bike swap. They're a bit too scared. All of them out of that 5k Hero Award for me. I'm looking at this team of AHDRL, seeing if they'll catch up. A minute faster, and the way this team has done it is perfect because they've got a draft benefit within their own team. So unfortunately, well, they're about 13 seconds behind this group ahead who are on Trons. Like I said, about a minute slower. So I am really interested to see how quickly this AHDRL team can catch up. They might not catch up a huge amount on the down, but they will be able to get a lot in the up. So they've done this really well. Already down to 10 seconds. It was up at 13. I found I caught up the 8 seconds about a third of the way up the climb and then had a huge gap after that. But this is two parts of the story, Kate, because you've got to catch up to the group, but you've also got to do that second bike swap like we talked about. So you're going to have to get ahead of the group by at least 20-25 seconds. And then if that group stays together, you've got a big downhill coming up at the bottom of Epic. They'll just catch you up. So what's the success? Not sure. This is what we're going to see though, because they're down to 8 seconds. For all those people watching to see if they're going to do this over the next races in the coming days, keep an eye on this women's B cap because this is what we're talking about.
It is interesting. You have to think about if you get back on with that bike change, are you trying to do it to then get an easier ride in the bunch and have more energy toward the back end? Or are you trying to do it to then attack and get that, make the most that you can out of that 1 minute advantage? that's potential through this section, which, neutralises at about 30 seconds really when you consider the bike change on either end, even if they are quick ones. So it's definitely not an open shut, right? Like, I really actually think to design this course as a race course, they've done really well that it isn't a clear option, and people really have to put a lot of thought and effort into trying out whether it'll work for them and what the dynamics of the race might do. What I did like, though, with the women that we saw is that they all did it together. And
Yes,
so they could then
perfect.
chase back on together and they could work together. And that really took away a lot of the pressure of losing a little bit of that time.
So here they come. You can see this group of AHDR ladies on gravel bikes just behind this pack of TBR. The whole group actually did it. 5 riders there changed the gravel bike. This is just, look at this. They are sprinting through the group. You will see how quickly they moved. Look at that. Blasts through. So they caught up. They're just at the end of the downhill and they caught up 15 seconds. It is going to be so hard for these riders on Troms to keep up, and I think this has just been played absolutely perfectly. Look at this.
Yeah.
Already like moving ahead. This other group's going to try and get on their wheels, but I wonder what's going to happen when they hit that climb. I think it's just going to be game over.
That wasn't that a good show, just how fast they went past. And they now have to drop them, I think, for this to have been worth it. Of course, because if they don't have an advantage on the other side, then they'll just lose time. While they're changing their bikes back. So they did a very good job of catching up there, but can they then attack them en masse on the climb, or will it be less of an attack and maybe just putting the pressure on and actually riding away a little bit?
Because it's good to keep in mind that the purple riders, all of the purple riders, Purple Armada, they are putting in significantly less power to stay in the group here. So they're probably recovering over this flat, which is a really good idea. Just kind of stay in here, get their energy back, and then really push it on the uphill that's coming up, and then get that big gap. And then they could basically have a 5-woman TTT all the way to the finish line. So, yeah, it depends though. I mean, the TBR crew, they're not going to just let them go away, but they're going to have to put in so much more effort to stay with them.
The power thing's interesting because sometimes you can actually, generate a whole lot more power than someone and still finish further back, and it depends about efficiency, and there's still a difference between saving power and it, not really getting you anywhere versus using more and it also not really getting you anywhere. So that's a hard equation to really work out. You do know that it is saving you power by being on a gravel bike, but that doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with a better result because it isn't just the pure numbers. And I think that's, something to consider. If it was a time trial, it would be a lot more open and shut around time advantages. But it's a little bit different in a scratch race. I think it's great that there are no intermediate sprints in this one, that it's just a scratch race, because it also really changes the way they're racing, doesn't it? Because nobody needs to kind of fox and wait for different parts and to try and pick up points.
Yeah, exactly. Just looking at the profile here, so they're they're at 13.3k, so they're right at that bottom area that you can see before they're sort of down and then up. And this is what I was talking about, AHDRL up to 7.1 watts per kg. Mel here, who are great rider, she's got her teammates behind her. They're going to be pushing so hard to really put the hurt on TBR, which they are. I mean, we're looking at, Mel here, 208 beats per minute heart rate. Absolutely crazy here. Her teammate now coming through ahead, that's Georgia. We've got Michelle right on her tail. This is stringing out big time. Just want to say that the men are all sort of still together. There's a little bit of an attack happening from Sam Lindsay, so we will have a look at the side-by-side because there's a bit of action happening over there too. Sam Lindsay is now 2 seconds ahead of the group on that Tron. They are also on the climb. They're pretty much at the exact 13.7, exact same part of the course. Look at Henneken here from Rave. She is pushing hard to stay up with these guys. This could be a mistake from AHDRL. I love it still because they tried, but they've dropped. Who have we got there? Falaise from TBW, Tune Bikeworks. They've dropped Lucy from TBR. They've dropped an HDRL rider. They've dropped pretty much all of the TBR riders. So this has been great. The only one has been able to stay on, and that's Lucy. Lucy number 2. I know we used to talk a lot about a Lucy from Smile On, so maybe we're talking about Lucy number 1.
Lucy Esdale is the Lucy that we have seen in the past. This is Lucy Singh. It's great that she is climbing really well. I really thought that Corinne Dolan was going to be on this course the real one to watch. When she is on form, she climbs like an absolute warrior. And, we see them racing so much, it would not be normal for them to be on form every time we were watching them race. But it is also worth considering that maybe they are playing their tactics a bit and sitting back with some riders rather than trying to force ahead with 5 of them. But it will cost them on the other end when they do need to do that bike change. In the men, there weren't we haven't really seen too many bike changes so far. Obviously, Sam Lindsay stayed on his Tron. And to remember that this kind of keeps going up. There is one or two little downs between like the 16 and the 17k mark, but it's about the 18.6 kilometre mark that it starts going down in earnest. So they've actually got quite a slog through here.
Yeah, and it's probably a good thing to know. We're now at 10k away from announcing our hero, our 5 kilometre hero of the race. So come into chat if you've got an idea. I mean, I'm liking what Sam Lindsay's doing here, but I know I'm always a little bit biased towards Sam Lindsay. I do like the Kiwi. But I got to say this TBR team, the AHDRL team, hard to pick just one though. I mean, would you pick a whole team? Can you do, I guess I set the rules, right?
I think since you've got final say off, Anna, you get to make the rules.
Okay.
On that one. But I think that we definitely almost pre-selected and said if no bike change happened, which kind of dents Sam Lindsay's chances a little bit. I mean, just to clarify, Anna, do you send pineapple lumps or something to the winner of the 5K hero? Is there an incentive?
I mean, don't get me wrong, you get nothing. Yeah, nothing. It's purely the kudos. Yeah, you get the kudos. So I will go, at the moment I'm leaning towards Team AHDRL bike change is my 5 kilometre hero. But if anyone else has any ideas, I've just had a question coming in. The women are on the climb. How much is their time gap? So we've got the AHDRL team who are on the better bikes. They are burning the other teams. I mean, it's about 15 seconds now back to if we use Lucy as our sort of marker. It's about 15 seconds back to the next rider. Lucy 2 is struggling to stay on, but we do have Henneken there from Rave, who's doing a great job, the German rider, sticking up with AHDRL. But yeah, about 15 seconds, 30 seconds back to Hensenenko. So yeah, that answers your question. They're getting a huge amount of time.
And it's not too dissimilar in the men. It's about a 13, 14 second gap there as well. And it is quite a large group of them that are chasing these 3. Mark O'Brien's popped his head up, Anna.
Oh,
hello, Mark O'Brien. We've been waiting for you. Tabalong having another solid ride as well. Interesting to note that O'Brien is also on the Tron. So we actually thought it might go the other way, where the fellas might jump on the gravel bikes more than the women, but it actually looks like it's gone the other direction. That may be the A's versus B's. Like you did say, Anna, there have been some comments around if you're an A, don't do it, but any of the other categories, you absolutely should.
Yeah. Just had a lot of comments about Sam Hill. I've got to say, he's a huge fan favourite, isn't he? From, I think, just the ZWIFT Academy, but also the work he did in the World Champs. I mean, you were on the other side of it, so you could hear everything going on. But, man, he was a powerhouse who put a lot of work in for his team. What a great rider, eh? He's getting a lot of shout-outs in the chat.
He is, and he's newlywed as well. He got married just before the World Champs, so I think he can have like a couple of months newlywed glow as well. So we'll give him that. Well done. It is really good to see so many of the top Aussies out there tonight, and I know that Premier League missing leaves a bit of a gap in everybody's esports, and certainly for the Aussies, Anna, they had a very big kind of summer of cycling, and they do start the NRS soon. In fact, they do have a round this Sunday in Brisbane, but generally there's a little bit of a gap now before the winter season really starts in earnest. So we will see a lot of the names out on the ZWIFT platform staying a little bit warmer than they would out on the roads.
Yeah, it is pretty. I was going to say it's cold. It's really hot right now here, but I don't know. Do we want to get into weather chat? I always find it's always a little bit boring, me talking about what's happening here in Auckland. A little bit humid, say 65%, 66%. But we are seeing here, I've got the side screen. I do want to focus on the women. We've got Georgia from DWRL having a bit of an attack off the front. 1 second now on her teammate Michelle. They're trying to drop Henneken, the Rave Rider, because coming up at about 17.5 kilometres, so in about a kilometre's time, is when they're going to have to switch back to their road bike. And that's going to be interesting. They've got 15 seconds on the next TBR rider. So they've unfortunately got Henneken there from Rave, who's managed to stick on. Maybe she should be the 5K hero rider, sticking on with these girls on the dirt bikes. But yeah, Georgia's kicking off the front. Oh, that's actually a good call. It could be her. I like that call too. I think people need to tell
and she
me
does,
what they think.
Well, Henneken, interestingly, doesn't... Like, she has an average normalised power throughout this race. It's not, demonstrably different to any of the other riders, which is something that, we were discussing in relation to the watt saving and the time saving by doing that bike. And also her heart rate kind of suggests she's actually doing pretty well out there, which is, interesting when she is in the position she is. And it also makes us consider what happens when they do have to start changing bikes, and what position does that put Henneken in? Does she just keep going solo, or is she kind of thinking, oh, come on now? But she's only a level 31 Zwifter, so she doesn't have a huge amount of Zwift racing experience, but she is a triathlete. She's an Ironman triathlete, Anna, so fair to say
strong.
Yeah, fair to say if she ends up out there on her own, she'll be fine. She can sit at about 4 watts per kg for 20 minutes. So I reckon that she is in the perfect plumb position now. All she needs to do is just hang on to these ladies, and when they stop to change the bike, she kind of needs to go like the clappers and see what happens.
TT all the way to the finish. And I think that's going to change.
Because
you would, wouldn't you? Oh, they're on the road
because
now.
Realistically, Fung, Miller and Bond, there's 30 seconds. So this is where it's happening now. So let's just put the clock on this a little bit.
They're rolling backwards. Oh, that's unfortunate. That was quick. That was quick. Look at that. They have got this
almost
down.
7 seconds.
Oh, unreal. Phenomenal there from Mel and Georgia. Michelle, a little bit off the pace, but wow, that was a bike change. I mean, I've got hotkeys. I know it's A, escape, T, 5 clicks, escape, 3 clicks, go. And it's it's nerve-wracking though when your heart rate's up around...
That's quite an algorithm you've just rattled off there.
When your heart rate's at 165 and you've got sweaty hands and you're trying to touch the keyboard, it is not easy. Henneken, 13 seconds ahead, but look at this. Falaise, Lucy, still 18 seconds back. Here we go. If you're thinking about a bike swap, this could be the way to go. Do it as a team.
Henneken has continued to open that gap up a little. So this is what's telling. It's not just that it was 12 seconds. It's that it's now 14 seconds, and we know that Henneken can hold 4 watts per kg until the very end. That is certainly nothing to be, I completely lost the word I was looking for. Welcome back, week one. But in comparison, Melissa Fung is a 3.3 watt per kilo 20-minute rider. There is And because she's lighter, that's around 167 watts, where Heineken is looking at 222 watts for 20 minutes. Given the profile of the course that it goes down and essentially flat, that is a huge differential right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's chat coming in that they think that Heineken will get caught on the downhill coming up because the 3 riders here can have a bit more of a draft benefit. Not huge draft benefit from 3 riders, I got to say. Heineken racing up there at 4.2 to get ahead of these ladies. 20 seconds behind now to about a group of 4. On the men's side, well, the group that got away, about 4 riders, you had O'Brien, Sam Hill. They've been caught. Mark Bosted leading the charge on the front, and they're back to a much bigger group happening. So the men's group, this is going to be a large bunch sprint, maybe about 13 riders there, 14 riders. And then hitting 21 kilometres, about 9k to go. They're in the last part of this race, but yeah, this is a bigger group than I think a lot of them have wanted. Torben Partridge Madsen just hanging off the back there. I just saw some orange numbers from him. He is sprinting to get back on. That's burning a lot of matches that just isn't useful. Looking at the team game here though, 1, 2, 3, 4 aero riders, 1, 2, 3, 4 NZ Bro, and then some DPAC riders. Oh, it's a big mix. This is going to be a tight battle between these teams.
It's a surprisingly large group, honestly, through here. Not surprising to see Sam Hill giving it another crack. And I do think that the aero team have nailed in previous seasons the ability to just keep a really tight race strategy, one over the top of the other. And when it comes to the esports racing, and I reckon that the amount that the strategic side of it has evolved over the last couple of years just blows my mind. They have just absolutely got it down to a fine art to a degree where you can, when this first started, we could look at their power numbers and you could almost guess what was going to happen just purely based off that. Now it's a completely different story. Like, the evolution has been such that it's not just about raw numbers now, which is actually quite cool. Joe Pesci, famous actor, is his name even? Joe Julian, his name is. Apologies, Julian. Is joining with Sam Hill now. Devola's chasing. 6-second gap, though. Let's revisit our original 15-second mark. Do you remember when we were first commentating on these community leagues, and it was like 15 seconds or you're not going anywhere? And then we saw a couple get out to 45 and come straight back, and then we saw a couple win by 5 seconds. So I'm not sure the 15 seconds is necessarily as relevant now as it used to be at the start when it was a bit of a different game. On this kind of course, even 10 seconds could be very dangerous because you can see that there are a few little gaps opening up behind. Chong and Stevenson, Nick Squilari, 3, and then there's a little bit of a gap to Sam Lindsay. Like, it's all just little gaps are starting to open up and showing that they're starting to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hill, he's doing a great job here, but they're going to get caught. We had Pesk there from France, who was right on his tail, but we saw Tabalong there. He was pushing here we go, counter-attack off the front of this group. Tabalong's looking good, actually. This is a good little counter-attack. They're now at 23.4 kilometres. 25k, we're announcing the 5k hero. Keep an eye out for that. And then 5k to go, they'll be finishing the race. So we'll stick with the men for a while. I'll give an update on the women, is that the AHDRL 3 group of Michelle, Georgia and Mel have all stuck together. They have got Heineken 8 seconds ahead. Heineken has unfortunately dropped the power a little bit. She couldn't hold it on. Mel is pushing hard and they will catch her. Group behind, 54 seconds back. So if you're looking for a strategy, I can see Cy Bradley here in the chat. Cy, AHDRL ladies, BCAT, APAC, have a look. They executed it to perfection.
Yeah, and 7 seconds. Did you say it took you 8 is where you got to?
I feel slow.
I think you've got to get on the old quick fingers, Anna Russell.
Oh.
Sounds like. And Cy's throwing down that he could do it in 5 or 6 seconds. So I think you need to get to work on the old bike change if you want to make this your tactic.
people
Not
are
to throw
talking
shade
about,
at you.
oh, they're running macros, they've got stream decks. I mean, geez, this is getting pretty serious stuff. I don't know if, I built a computer. Just give me that for this season. I'm not sure I can start building macros and stuff and doing bike swaps. I just want to do it for a bit of entertainment. You know what will happen though? No one will do it, and I'll just be that random person out of the draft trying to catch up from behind. So I'm not going to do it as slick as AHDR, that's for sure.
That will be in itself a little bit amusing if that is what plays out. So, so let's just see how that one goes for you. The women are not too far from the finish. The men as well. The women at about the 22-kilometre mark. The men, as we can see, just mere hundreds of metres off the announcement of our 5K hero. I've got a hero in mind. I'm curious about yours. You get the ultimate say, Anna. You've got the power.
Oh God, I do. I love this. Yeah, I love the power. I'm like, wait, here we go. 25K. 5K to go, hero of the men and women's APEC race. Race 1 is the AHDRL Women's BCAT team. They threw it down. They did the bike swap. They laid it all out there. They had the confidence. And just as we're seeing on the right-hand side, they're catching Henneken there from Rave. They're 30 seconds ahead of the group behind. Kudos to those ladies. Chapeau. You are the 5K to go hero for race number 1 APEC. Good job.
Indeed. I did think that Henneken had it. I thought that she could really do that. So they've done a tremendous job, Fung, Miller and Bond, in order to catch back up. What about the fellas though, Anna? I'm very biased in who I would choose. So,
well, we're just doing one for the whole race. So unfortunately the fellas...
Oh, one for the whole race?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And it just wasn't that same degree. I mean, if I had to give it to someone, I've got someone off the front. I do. Sam Lindsay and Mark O'Brien. You knew he would do this, didn't you? He just can't help himself. He's got to attack off the front.
He's got such immaculate timing. He really does. And I did say I felt sorry for all of the fellas having to race him because he just has this beautiful sense of timing. And he races like he just really knows when everybody's under a bit of pressure, and he takes quite a lot of pleasure in choosing to attack in that moment while everybody's really vulnerable. Like it's actually very, very impressive. It's good to see Sam Lindsay with him. Sam Lindsay, I would say, has ridden a less efficient race than O'Brien. He has been a lot more active, and he has tried some moves off the front. So they are a very good pairing. Less than 10 seconds though still, and not in small fact because the bunch know that if they let Mark O'Brien go too far, it's all over Red Rover. Sam Lindsay, after his stint in Prem League, is a similar one. They're the kind of riders, if they even move, like if you notice them scratching their nose and their power going up, you would stick to them like glue.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Lindsay as well, still the same as the rest of the team. Rocking the white socks, looking phenomenal. I've got to say, they've brought their A game to this one. He is looking good on Mark O'Brien's wheel. 8 seconds though, and it's getting led. Sam Lindsay must be right. No, just thinking, why is John Story off the front, chasing down his teammate? But Sam Lindsay is not his teammate. He's his countryman, but he rides for ZWC. So that's why Story is on the front. We know from his rowing background. He is great on the bike. What is going on? No socks.
Well, John Story's John Story. I think that we saw it at the beginning of last season, Anna. He had a lot of, he just has so much power, but he made a few little rookie errors. He finds himself in A because he's just such a monster on the bike. Like, he's just so fit and capable and strong and powerful. But a little bit of time to catch up on the tactical part. He did so really, really well last season, though. Like, he caught on really quickly. And I mean absolutely no disrespect in my commentary around his racing abilities, because I think to cross over from another sport, we are really getting to see him learn how to really race. Normally, you don't get to see it up close because they're doing that coming through the categories before they even arrive at the A. So it's quite interesting to watch him out there, but certainly he is an absolute asset to that team.
Yeah, he's amazing. It's these guys are looking pretty good. You can just see in the distance those Tron bikes kind of sparkling at the back there. What kind of dust coming off? Is this? I know Aaron Bleakley is in the chat.
Is it raining?
Yeah, it must be. Aaron Bleakley's in the chat. He's the one who guided me through, like a PC Yoda, how to build my computer. And I think it's just because we've just got a pretty high resolution now going on. We're starting to see things in the game I'd never even seen before. A little bit of rain dust coming off the bikes. Looks great. Looking at this though, 28.7k. They're coming into the last parts of this course. They're going to have a big downhill. This is not good for Sam and Mark, is that they've got this downhill coming up and they've got a huge pack behind, only 6 seconds back. They're very close to finishing this race, but unfortunately, I just think that kind of shark-like figure of those Trons in the back hunting them down is not boding well for them. 5 seconds now. They're going to have to do something. Sam Lindsay down to 2 watts a kg. He's just trying to get on the wheel of Mark. I think they know they're going to get caught, and now they're saving it for a bit of a sprint.
Well, I mean, did they not watch Flanders?
Oh, who didn't?
Don't be Tadej, fellas. be Vanderpool.
Oh,
if
that's
you're going to choose one. Well,
poor today,
at least
right?
in that instance, you're right. It's down to 2-3 seconds. They're about to get caught. They're just going to hit out and go for goal, but they might actually make this.
Sam Lindsay, he could do this.
Close the
Look at
line
this.
is.
I think he could make this. He has pushed. Oh,
Oh,
right on the line. Looked like Chong there with Haggerty. We've actually had a call out about Haggerty being one of the ones to watch in this. We'll have a look at the replay of that. That was pretty amazing. I think he ended up second. You have to have a look at the results at the end, but there was some tight racing with Sam Lindsay there. We've got a replay. He dropped the aero pretty early. We'll take a look at what happened right on the line. I think there were orange numbers everywhere. You can see Mark O'Brien. I think he just burned too much gas early on. Sam's opened up around 12.9, 14 watts per kg. Chong there from World Elite Zwifters coming through at 15.4. What a rocket. And the line so painfully close for Lindsay. And there we go. Look at that positioning of Chong there with Haggerty right on his wheel from NZ Bro. So it looks like World Elite Zwifters, then ZWC, then NZ Bro, and Partridge Madsen. Great race because he dropped off a couple of times. Looks like he may have come through for 4th, but we'll have to check out the results at the end. We'll head through to the women as they are coming around the volcano now.
yeah. Well, Haggerty and Chong are both pretty handy sprinters, but I noticed that both Haggerty and Partridge Madsen were hanging around the 16.6 watts per kg mark in that sprint. Holy moly, like that is seriously solid riding from those guys. Great effort from Sam Lindsay to hang on for second there amongst the flurry of the sprints, because it looks like O'Brien ended up down in about 13th for a bit of a differential on how that sprint can go. We've got these 4 riders. We've got Georgia Miller, Michelle Bond, Claudia Maria Henneken, or Claudia if she's German, and Melissa Fung. So if we're looking at how they're going so far, we're looking at Michelle Bond at the moment. She's pretty comfy with her heart rate, sitting, in a reasonably good position. Melissa Fung, do you recall last season, Anna, I was commenting on her heart rate and how high it was, and it was hanging around the, over 200 mark, and I sort of said, I think she's about to blow a foo-foo valve because that's very high, but she didn't. She just kept hanging out at that heart rate. And so I am looking at her numbers now, and she is over 200 beats per minute at the moment. But now I know that I shouldn't be, too concerned about that, which is good.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not concerned. She'll be glad.
Yes. if it does come down to a sprint, I have to say that it is Melissa Fung who I'm looking at. She's got really great acceleration. She's an absolute little pocket rocket with a very good kick on her, and I think that they would be silly to underestimate her. But there's 3 AHDRL riders. How are they going to play the sprint, Anna, against each other, or just make sure that they don't end up second, third and fourth behind Henneken?
Oh, yeah, and this, keep in mind, this has had no intermediaries, so it is all about placing across the line. I mean, it's kind of, there was a while back where I think it was quick step versus, there were like 3 quick step and 1 rider from maybe Bora or something. This was a few years ago. And the Bora rider actually won. So I think Henneken does have the opportunity here to sort of play the bluff and, I don't know, sort of take it out over the 3. But she must be so strong. I'm very, very impressed with how she stayed up with this group. Yeah, there we go. Mel is saying it. Well done, Claudia. Great ride. Absolutely. She stayed up on a Tron against gravel bikes, and now she's with them at the end. She must be strong, and that's making me think that she could end up taking us out because the effort she's had to put in.
Look, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there.
1.
Henneken is a 6.8 watts per kg sprinter, like 15-second sprinter. Fung is around an 11 watt per kg 15-second sprinter. So if she plays it right, Fung, I mean, if she just follows Henneken's wheel really and times it well, I think that she would have to be feeling, pretty strung out, kind of like Van der Poel at last year's Flanders where he got beaten by Casper Asgreen because he was just completely toast. So it does happen. It's not that you can just look at those numbers and go, well, that's easy. But I would be backing Fung at this point, notwithstanding what an incredible ride that Claudia has had. And again, only a level 31 Zwifter. So I think that big future ahead for her in the racing because she's still really developing in terms of experience.
We've got some opening up here at the sprint. Mel is coming through 7.8, 7.9 watts per kg. Her teammates are coming up. She's saved a feather, which is probably not the best one, but she's doing well. Henneken there, all the way to the line. Mel and Henneken going for it. Looks like Mel will take it out. Henneken coming in second with Georgia for third. That was we don't even need to see a replay of that. We could I will actually though, because I love seeing when people start to open up the sprints and how it works. But me and my sprinting, it's been a work in progress. But that was interesting to see. I'll take you over, have a look, where they just sort of started dropping those orange numbers. Georgia started going first from about third wheel back, but it became a mano-a-mano battle between Mel and Henneken. Mel, huge numbers at the end, taking it out. Henneken, wow, chapeau, what an amazing race. Georgia coming through for third, and Michelle, her teammate, for fourth. And then all the riders who did not do the bike swaps as that team strategy, 37 seconds back at the end. So great work, AHDRL. That was a phenomenal start to race number 1.
It was. I mean, I'm kind of surprised, actually, at Henneken's numbers online based on what she just sprinted. And I have a feeling that she hasn't done a lot of sprints because the numbers she was putting out there are so far above any of her recorded numbers. And she feels to me very much like a rider who very shortly is going to find herself in that uncomfortable category shift position. Let's see how she goes. We kind of don't wish that upon anybody when there is no A division to racing. But let's see how we go. We'll take a look at the results when they come through. Because, Anna, that was a pretty cracking start to the season, can I say? Thank you, everybody, for turning up with your race legs on. Nobody really took a moment to just warm into it, did they? No, they absolutely didn't. Men's results here. So we did see that finish. Kenneth Chong coming through for the World Elite Zwifting Sharks. Great win. That was a great sprint at the end. Timed it perfectly. Sam Lindsay in second from DPAC Elite. I keep calling them ZWC, sorry. It was DPAC Elite. Joshua Haggerty for NZ Bro. They're in third. And then Aero in fourth. So 4 different teams in the top 4. But then look at that. DPAC Elite, 5th and 6th. Pechko and Devola. Sam Hill, the community hero,
from Aero in 7th, John Story from NZ Bro in 8th. Then we've got Mark Bosted still racing for Aero. That's controversial. And then
is it?
I thought he was in an NZ Bro kit, so that's interesting. And then Nicholas Squilari rounding out in 10th. We'll see if the B cat riders have come through yet. Yes, there we go. Take it away, Katie.
All right, let's take a look at the Bs. Now, we didn't see these guys racing, but we can see from their numbers that they had a pretty solid day out there. Dylan McLean from Aerodynamics. Oh, that's a cool team name. He took the win ahead of Adam Dawson from the Ballers. Jeroen Lammers from Cryogen Etna in 3rd. All together in a bunch sprint here. Ben Milne from NZ Bro Urukai. That's a new team. I haven't seen them yet. Anna, great to see them with another team. Ben Rolfe from WMZ Bumble in 5th. Cameron Jose from Aeropress in 6th. Stephen Hands in 7th. Again, NZ Bro Urukai. Matthew Hargraves in 8th from Alien 161. That's the first of them in the top 10. They're normally a bit more getting warmed up this season. Andrew Bosco from WZ Boom in 9th, along with his teammate Clinton Leon, also from Boom. Top 10 within 0.6 of a second. That's pretty solid sprint from them.
Big sprint finishes in this race. So this is CCAT. I'm not sure if they have finished yet. They may still be out on course, but you know the drill. Head to WTRL.racing for that, and we'll see if what the women's results. I hope so. That'd be great to see how they went. Oh, let's have a look. Yes, we do. Melissa Fung. We saw her coming through. That was phenomenal. The AHDRL Bullets. They also got the 5K Hero Award. Claudia Marie Hennigan, great job. Absolutely amazing. She came in 2nd from Raven Bees. Georgia Miller from the Bullets in 3rd. Michelle Bond from the Bullets in 4th. Lucy Singh from TBR. She was Lucy 2, I think. She was in 5th. And then Lucy 1, Lucy Esdale, who always gives me a message with their cocktail of choice. I actually might read that out now because I completely forgot to read that out. They made a cocktail for this race called the Jungle Rocket. Banana liqueur, triple sec, Midori orange juice, and a dash of grenadine. Shake vigorously with ice. Do not stir it. So there's some pretty specific instructions here. She was in 6th. Emma Falaise for Chicks and Nicks in 7th. Kimberly Coon-Stokes for TBR in 8th. Corinne Dolan in 9th. And Kylie Adia. The AHDRL Bullets in 10th. We'll see if we've got the C Women who finished yet. Doesn't look like they have. So it is a longer course. They start a little bit later. I'll make the assumption there's no Ds coming through yet either. But head to WTRL.racing for all of those results.
Yeah, we do have a huge number of community athletes out on the track across all of the divisions this season, which is sensational. Next week, Anna, it's a little bit more of a traditional one. We head to Greater London Flat for a team's time trial. It's about 26K. That'll go pretty quickly. And after this week, you know, we often see the team's time trials change things up a little bit. We saw that last season, with NZ Bro. Their bunch racing lagged a little bit behind their team time trialing because they were just so strong but still figuring out the tactics. But every other team, knowing that they were so strong, then changed the dynamic for the rest of the season. So I think we can expect that again. So, Anna, good luck tomorrow. We will be watching for this bike change. The challenge to you is to get it under the 8 seconds because Corinne Dolan did it in about 6.5 seconds. So I'm looking at you for that, to try and better that. And we will see everybody, if you want to tune in for the next 18 odd hours. We have every time zone finishing in America West tomorrow afternoon. And Anna, we'll see you next week for the team's time trial.